All right. Welcome everybody to the Greenfield Conservation Commission meeting on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. It is 6:31 and this meeting is a hybrid slash Zoom meeting from John's On and also via Zoom. Um, just wanted to make one mention, should any technical interruption to the meeting occur and the meeting is suddenly ended, it will not be resumed and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date, which I think is December 9th. Contact the conservation agent for more information should that happen. This meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. If any other people present are also recording, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Is there anyone else recording? Okay, I'm not hearing anybody, so I'm assuming that we're the only ones recording. So I will call this meeting to order. We'll take a roll call of members present. We'll start with you, Travis.
Present. Whoa, that was loud.
Erica
Aye.
and Emily.
Aye, present.
I'm Kristen, also present. Um, I guess the first item on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes from October 28th, 2025.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from October 28th, 2025.
Second.
Are there any comments or edits anybody wanted to see? All right, well, we have a motion and a second. I guess we can revisit any comments after. Do a roll call vote. Travis,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Emily.
I'll abstain because I wasn't present.
Okie dokie. I'm also an aye. It looked perfectly fine to me. Just a statement, approved meeting minutes will become available to the public on our website on the next business day following this meeting. Just again, no further comment on that, right? We're good? Okay. So today we have no public hearings. But we did want to move Miller's Miller's Meadow, I'm sorry, to the first order of business. Jessica, you want to kick that off?
Yeah. So this is following up with the CPC pre-application information session we had at a previous meeting where, Athena expressed their desire to acquire grant CPA funds for further restoration and removal of invasive species. Then there was the Mass Wildlife Grant that they are also going for to do this plan, and it was discussed that there is a chance they wouldn't receive approval to move forward with the full CPC application, but they actually did receive approval, which is really exciting. And so Athena is joining us tonight to discuss their plans, or what they did for the full application and how it kind of mirrors the wildlife grant application, and just wants to inform the commission and get their blessing so that they can proceed with kind of the full application. The full application is submitted, but if the commission did not support the full application, it would be rescinded. So yeah, that's the synopsis. Athena, are you able to unmute your mic?
Yes, I believe I am muted. And thank you very much for having me on again. And thank you very much for letting me go ahead. And I apologize to everybody else. So this is pretty much like the other proposals. We did increase the recreational aspect of it. One, the passive recreation, promoting that, but also the fishing area will be a wider space, and we were going to put in a path from Kimball Road, so a trail connecting from Kimball Road to the fishing spot, and also create sort of a picnic lawn that people can enjoy for frisbee and sitting around and doing picnicking kind of stuff. We would have the DPW mow walking paths once a year in line with protecting the turtle and other species that habitat there. And we would construct 6 benches along the mowed paths and also the river access area and also the vistas. So that'll be a good opportunity. What I do, and this builds on similar to the Massachusetts Wildlife Grant, that we are proposing to use herbicides to control the purple crown vetch up on the upland area, as well as the Japanese knotweed. And that would be land stewardship. Chris Paladin would do that. He is a licensed applicator. And then we would also propose to do a similar herbicide spraying along the river to control the knotweed. And that also, both of those would be also managed by the Peter Wackenagel and the YCA-FC through hand pulling and other kinds of management to get the invasive species out of there. So I did want to make you aware of that. And we'll entertain any questions that y'all might have. Oh, and in relationship to the herbicides, I would say that we would plan to do an herbicide management plan or whatever else you would want us to do just to ensure that it's done properly.
That was going to be my question. So yeah, having a plan in place so we can review it ahead of time would be great.
Okay.
But it's awesome that that was included in the project as well as all the recreation.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I think it'll be a great project if you either get both or one of the grants. So we're very excited about it.
I'm curious about the herbicide, if you've looked at whether that's in a resource area, whether that's within 200 feet of the bank of the river. Because if so, that would also need to be filed, an NOI before us to, go through that
Okay.
approval process. So if it's outside the 200 feet from the river, that might be a different story, but yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be
I
good
will
to know
check
where that
with,
is.
okay. Yeah, I'll check with Peter on that and we'll certainly get with Jessica on that as well.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that question could come up in the CPC, not that specific, but just like whether all like approvals and
Yep.
permits and everything have been completed. So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Any
Where
other
exactly,
Sorry,
where
go ahead,
exactly is
Emily.
the,
Or Erica, sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought it was Emily talking and it was Erica. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Where exactly is this fishing spot supposed to be? Because I'm just thinking of the embankment there. I know we've already had a whole bunch of erosion in parts of the embankment. So where is this and how many people are gonna be going down it? And is there protection for the embankment and?
There are trails there, and I think I sent Jessica the map that Peter did, and if not, I'll verify that with I'll take a look at the map and get that to Jessica. It is off of Kimball Drive, and then it's up higher on the bank because we don't want people going down to the river itself to be to go fishing because that'd be too dangerous. But I'll get an elevation level for you all and check that out and get back with Jessica on that.
Yes, I don't think I ever got a map of
There's
that.
not one in the application?
No,
It was attached with the application, yeah.
Okay, let me look real fast.
So they're not gonna go right down to the river to
No.
fish? Okay. And how is that platform gonna be erected?
It's just going to be a cleared area for people to stand on and to create a vista so that people can actually look
Oh.
out at the river as well.
Okay, so there's no like platform or something?
No, no. We will have removable benches in that area. I'm not sure they'll be stationed so that it won't cause any erosion or anything like that, but they'll be removable because according to FEMA, we can't have any permanent structures there.
So are you in bordering land subject to flood?
I'm sorry?
Do you know that if you're in the flood zone, the floodplain, the 100-year flood zone?
It is in the floodplain, yes.
So that's a
The whole
resource.
valley is in the floodplain.
Just to go back to what Travis was saying earlier, to ask whether you are within riverfront area, which is 200 feet from
Okay.
a perennial or intermittent stream. If
Yep.
you are in the 100-year flood zone, you are also in a resource area.
So that would require other accommodations if we are going to propose to do pesticide or herbicide spraying?
I think it's all one application.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll just, if you were to receive funding, you would just have to submit an application, then a notice of intent. So I'm pretty sure at least a
okay,
portion of it is in riverfront area. And so it could just be the whole project would be the NOI, and you would have to submit all the specifics at that point.
I will just state though, Athena, that there's a category for resource area improvement or habitat improvements. It's a very small filing fee. So it's not a heavy lift.
okay.
Athena, it looks like for whatever reason, we didn't get the map. So just do send that along to us. at a later-
Yeah, definitely. I apologize. It was a long day
We hear you.
and 3 weeks of submitting grants on Fridays in a row.
Brutal.
Okay. All right. I took notes on that. Okay.
If
I had one other comment, probably because I won't be on the commission by the time you come back, but I just
Oh,
would
no,
like to,
really?
yeah, my term expires the end of the year and
Oh.
I will be resigning at the end of that term. But I wanted to just suggest for the commission's consideration, if there is a certified herbicide applicator and we're going to ask to see an invasive species management plan before that's being implemented, it might be something for us to consider seeing annual reports on how that was either successful or not successful or
Okay.
something like that.
Yep.
But that's something a commission can talk about later, especially if there's an application that's going to be before us.
That all sounds good. We want this to be a model, so I think that any requirements like that are great. So,
Did any other commissioners have any thoughts or comments or questions on this one?
I think you covered everything for me.
All right, well, we don't need to vote on this, right? This is just an update.
Do we have to like?
I think we should vote on it because I think what we're doing right now is essentially the application to the CPC was from the Conservation Commission, but
Oh,
we
right.
never actually voted to send that from the Conservation Commission. So it was sent, and then now we're going to vote to say like, yes, we actually do want it to be sent.
Sounded like a motion.
So I will move to authorize sending this CPA application to the CPC.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion before we do roll call?
The only other thing is I noticed that the contact name is Eric Tworog on it.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's already been sent, but um, uh, it has his email address, and so it might be worth someone sending an email to the CPC just to say, hey, just so you know, here's an updated contact person for that.
Yeah,
Who is the
I
updated-
work in Anna's office, so I'm happy to do that.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Any
That's
other
it.
thoughts?
While we were talking, I was trying to find, so like in the deed for Wedgewood Gardens, it talks about, the flood buyout program, and it says like what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, and compatible uses. Structures, no new structures or improvements other than a public facility is open on all sides and functionally related to open space use. I'm assuming that a bench might fall under that. The
It's
only,
open on all four sides and it's
yeah,
open space use.
it's a facility. Does it count as a facility, I guess? And
It's
the other
not, it's,
two,
well, I was gonna say, under the Wetlands Protection Act, I don't think that would be considered a structure.
yeah, but I was just thinking from the perspective of the terms that are on the property due to the FEMA flood buyout, what we
Right.
have. And so the other options that it can be that are allowable are a public restroom or a structure that is compatible with the uses for open space and approved by the director in writing prior to the commencement of the construction of the structure. Any structures built on the property according to this paragraph shall be flood-proofed or elevated to the base flood elevation plus 1 foot of freeboard. But I don't know, I mean, a bench isn't a structure, so I don't know how that, fits. I was trying to find, I had previously found a guide that was like FEMA flood bio program, here, all the things you can do and how to do it. But I don't know where that is and I can't find it again. But I'm
Well-
assuming a bench is fine and we don't need to get any prior approval to put a
Yeah,
bench.
we had talked about making it removable somehow,
Yes.
which I'm assuming you should put a stake in the ground and then set the wood on top of it so it could pop right off. But I know Eric approved this, so I can certainly ask him and or his replacement about that because he has all those records from the deed.
And that's one thing I was wondering about because like from our perspective, from the Conservation Commission's perspective, it would be better if it like wasn't permanently attached to the ground. But for CPA funding, it has to be permanently attached to the ground or.
Oh, well, that's interesting. You are a wealth of knowledge there. Thank you again.
Well, I've been on the CPC since it started in Greenfield,
No,
so
I really
we've,
appreciate
we've
it.
gone
So
all
this is
over
good.
all of these things over and over. So
Okay, well, we'll have to address that then. So I'll have to verify one way or the other.
yeah,
Okay.
I will just state for for floodplain, I think that the biggest issue is we don't want to, we look at under the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act for impacts in bordering land subject to
Mhm.
flood, we look at the cut fill calculation. So we basically, when it boils down to it, we don't want to see a loss in flood storage compensation. I can't imagine a 2x4 would be a significant loss in flood storage compensation, but
Right.
just something to consider. If rules are rules and stuff, but I think that, let's be realistic about that.
Well, we are balancing it with a lot of trees. 500 so far, and we have 200 more to
Nice.
go. Plus, we put in for a couple of hundred for the new grant. So, anyway, okay, that's great. I will check on that then.
That's
Well,
another
we had-
question that would, sorry, I was just gonna say, that's another question that I know would come up at the CPC is whether it's permanently attached or not, because
Okay,
that's one of those things.
that I did not know. So, again, thank you.
Did you have any other comments or questions or?
I think
Insight?
that's all I have off the top of my head. On my
Anybody
motion that I made.
Well, no, that's good. That's good. Did we get a second? I can't even remember, but we can always entertain other comments. We did get a second?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Did anyone else have any other comments besides Travis? Those were really good comments, by the way.
Excellent, as always. I'm gonna
Mhm.
miss you guys. I'll have to come back.
We love having
Miller's
you.
Meadow will still be there.
Yeah.
All right, not hearing any, so we have a motion and a second. I will do a roll call vote. We'll change it up. I'll start with you, Emily.
Aye.
And how about Erica?
Aye.
And Travis?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Thank you so much, Athena. That was wonderful presentation. We're so excited. Thank you for
Thank you,
everything.
guys. All right, y'all be well and have a nice holiday.
You
You too.
too. All right, so I guess I am moving to new business. So we're going to jump to request for certificate of compliance, 105 Newton Street. This is Mass DEP file 168-0350. This order of conditions expires on November 22nd, 2025, and this was for the construction of 3 storage buildings. You want to start us off, Jessica, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this request has been heard once already at our previous meeting, and there was additional questions about the rain garden's volume that it's capable of storage volume, and that couldn't be adequately addressed to the commission's liking, and so the request was denied, and so this is the resubmission. And Chris Chamberlain is present tonight to go into further detail about the storage volume for the rain garden and how it does or does not meet stormwater handbook standards.
Great, thanks. Yep, again, Chris Chamberlain, Berkshire Design, was the civil engineer for this project. Doug Searle was here from our office last month, and apologies, I had a conflicting hearing. Doug's very familiar with the project, but a little bit, as a landscape architect, a little less familiar with the exact ins and outs of all the stormwater standards. Jessica had very helpfully forwarded the questions that were still outstanding after last month. So I'm going to address those the best I can, and happy to try to answer any of the questions that you may have. And then ultimately, where we stand is that, as noted in the submission, the rain garden was not built as big as it was supposed to be. So ultimately, if the commission feels that it's not good enough and can't issue a certificate of compliance, then we're going to have to go back and fix it, and we'll do that in the spring. So just a quick timeline here. This project was approved, and then we had, you'll recall, an amended order of conditions with an approved plan. Went to construction. Construction went along pretty well. And then at the end of the project, this rain garden got built. To go out there and to look at it, even to pull a tape measure on it, you wouldn't have necessarily known anything was wrong, but the owner, doing the right thing, actually got a full 100% as-built survey. So then having that data, I went in and checked the sizing of everything and discovered that the rain garden was undersized. Initially, we actually did go back to the owner and said, hey, the rain garden wasn't big enough. You got to go back and get it expanded. And he asked us to take a second look and see if there was any justification for keeping it as is. So I went back in and scrutinized the numbers a little bit and actually was surprised to discover that I could come up with a justification for it. And that's what ended up in your letter, the letter that was sent to you. So the questions that came from, and I should share my screen and pull up a plan so that we know what we're talking about here. Good. So this is the site on Newton Street. As you approach it you approach into the site on the street here, and these are a series of storage buildings and an office space with paved area all around. And stormwater-wise, most of this portion of the site is handled through an underground stormwater infiltration system. The rain garden in question, which is located here at the north end of the site, collects from this area here. And so the first question was, why is the rain garden constructed smaller than called for in the original design documents? And the only thing I can say is because it does not seem to matter how detailed or how explicit we make our drawings, our contractors cannot seem to build things exactly as they're called for. So as I mentioned, to see the site, there was nothing obvious wrong until we got the as-built survey in and discovered that instead of the 774 cubic feet that we had called for, the actual rain garden was 650 cubic feet. And so then I guess there was a question about why why the original design was chosen to accommodate a larger volume of water if it was not necessary. And so to this, I've got to point back to that timeline of events. This project went through an amendment to the order of conditions. And so you may or may not remember the original approval on this portion of the site included a two-level building that was significantly larger than the storage buildings that are occupied here, as well as a parking lot that ran overland into the rain garden. And so that rain garden, if I'm remembering correctly, was designed sort of right in line with the standard of half an inch of storage over the impervious area. But it was also extended along the entire length of the pavement. So it may actually have been bigger at that time too. When the site got rearranged, the grading of the rain garden stayed roughly similar to the way it was because the elevations were pinned in by groundwater and ensuring that we were able to tie into existing over here. And so the order of operations was not to size the rain garden and then grade it out. We actually modified the grading and then checked it against the amount of impervious area that was running into it and discovered that it was big enough. And the fact that it was a little bit bigger was a bonus. The Stormwater Handbook requires the rain garden to be a minimum of sized so that at a minimum it captures the first half inch of rain over the impervious area draining to it. It doesn't say anything about whether it needs to, that it can't be bigger than that. In fact, in certain sites, which this do not qualify for, that have higher potential for pollutant loads, we have to size it to capture the first inch of water off of the impervious area. So as we stepped through the numbers, discovered that the as-built condition of 650 cubic feet was larger than half an inch over the impervious area that actually goes there, which includes the paving around this building as well as the center building. And so then the last question was, how does the current constructed volume meet the Stormwater Handbook regulations? And so here I am going to give a regulatory answer, and then we're going to step back and look at, realistically, what have we done on this site? So based on standard 4 out of the stormwater standards, we need to meet an annual average of 80% TSS removal for each discharge. So in this site, we have 2 discharges. We have the discharge out to the street where our paved area is collected and treated through a stormwater treatment chamber located here. We have roof water that runs through an underground infiltration chamber here, which runs to this discharge. The storm scepter is based on the design calculations, based on the testing that we run through, the model that runs through, sorry, getting myself mixed up there. The model that we run it through to estimate the removal rate based on the testing shows that the storm scepter was designed for 88% removal. The Stormwater Handbook gives us 80% TSS removal for infiltration structures, as long as they are sized for at least half an inch of rainfall coming off the roof. In fact, these roofs capture 0.8 of an inch and infiltrate it. So that gets us 80% on that discharge. And then rain gardens, as long as they're sized for at least that half inch of rain, the Stormwater Handbook gives a 90% removal rate for that impervious area that's leaving. The 3 buildings on the edges here have single sloping roofs that discharge onto the ground, which run over pervious surfaces and sheet flow off of the site. So those under standard 4 are not point source discharges, so they are not counted in this, which is why I now also want to take a step back and say that if we look at the site as a whole, which then goes beyond standard 4, we have a total area of impervious area if we include all of the roof, and we have those 3 treatment trains, and we have this roof area that runs off of the site. I went ahead today and pulled up a summary of sort of a more accurate picture of what's actually happening on this site as it was built. And so in this case, I looked at what is going into the infiltration chamber, what's going through the storm scepter, what's going through the rain garden, and what's going off-site. Now, what the Stormwater Handbook gives us as a blanket removal rate is the same rate no matter how much water goes through each of these treatment devices. The EPA has issued a bunch of data that actually fine-tunes those removal rates so that we can get a more accurate picture of what's actually happening based on different rates, different amounts of water that run through these features. So here I'm trying to look at realistically what are we treating off of this site that we've redeveloped from zero treatment to all of these treatment devices. And so in this case, if we refer to the EPA tables, which I can share, I can submit, if we capture 0.8 of an inch of water and run it through an infiltration system, EPA says in reality, we're getting 100% average TSS removal through that. We've got our storm scepter, which our sizing model says is getting us 88% removal. And then the EPA looks at rain gardens, biofiltration, again, based on how much water is actually running through it. The amount of water that we are running through the rain garden is almost 0.6 of an inch, which EPA says we get 97% removal for. And then if we count the roof water that's running directly off site, which doesn't really have a sediment load, especially compared to pavement, it's not even close. But if we assume that that is a sediment load and we're getting no treatment off of it, if we take a weighted average based on those EPA numbers, this is sort of the most accurate of what the site is actually doing, separate and apart from what the stormwater standards are requiring at each of those discharges. Is site-wide, we're getting an average removal rate of 85% compared to the 80% standard. So both from the regulatory standpoint, looking at each of those discharges just with the sort of blinders on numbers that come out of the Stormwater Handbook, as well as a more granular look as to where each of these impervious areas are going based on sort of more specific information. In both those cases, we're removing the total sediment load at more than 80%. And then just to throw a cap onto that, this was a redevelopment project. In total, we actually reduced the amount of impervious area on the site. So this water quality standard that we're held to, we are held to at the maximum extent practicable. So I threw a lot out there. I imagine some of it was confusing as I stumbled on my words in a couple of places there, but really just wanted to try to thoroughly look at that standard 4, which was the point of concern, and looking at that a couple of different ways, which is why ultimately I felt okay about making that statement that the site is, as it was built, is in compliance, and that despite the fact that this rain garden was undersized, based on what it's being used for, it sure looks to me like it is sufficient. And again, I'll end where I started. And if that's not good enough for the commission, then I'm going to end up reporting back to the owner that we've got to go and make that bigger.
Thank you for that breakdown, Chris. Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
I'm pretty clear. I mean, it's pretty clear.
None forthcoming.
I have a few. So I appreciate your description of the EPA standards, although I prefer the state standards because state standards are always stronger than federal standards. And I guess my major question was there any kind of notice of field change submitted, or did you just not notice that it was constructed incorrectly until you did the as-built?
Discovered it with the as-built, which was part of the reason why we had the as-built done.
We really appreciate your forthcoming and honesty with that, and that's why we do require as-built with the request for a COC. You had mentioned that it's, hard for contractors to get things exactly right, but do they not have survey equipment? I mean, aren't they survey staking and grading and all of
The
that?
Yeah, the crew that did this, I think, typically runs everything off of GPS. So they had these contours in there. I suspect that I suspect the grades were right when the site contractor was finished, and then when the landscaper came through, did their planting, maybe top dress some topsoil and seeds and everything else. What seems to happen is that the lip of the rain garden in a couple of spots got knocked down. And that was, I couldn't conclude. Part of me wanted to try to find a way to conclude that it was big enough, but we got shots right along the rim of the rain garden, and some of them are the right elevation, and I think others must have gotten compressed when the landscaper went through there at the last moment. Like I said, it's subtle on the survey as to what the grades are. I think a sloppier survey, we may not have even picked up on this.
I guess my biggest question is, how is it functioning today? Is it functioning? Is it topping out? Is there rilling
It seems to be
gully?
working great. I've been there in a heavy rain, and there's a steady stream coming in from the outlet pipe off of the paved area. It's definitely catching that water, but everything seems to be passing through. Now, you remember this is an underdrained, not an infiltrating rain garden. And so, yeah, they have the right soils in there as far as we could tell, and yeah, it catches the water and then infiltrates out. I will say I haven't been there in a 2-inch rain to see whether it filled up and spilled over. Just haven't had that opportunity.
Or that it's maybe filled up with fines and it's not perking out fast
Right.
enough?
No, it definitely dewaters pretty quickly.
Okay. No commissioners have any other thoughts?
It seemed like you included the two side structures, even though they don't count for the as point source pollution or runway runoff.
Right. So by very strict and the both both that question and does roof water count at all are gray areas in the standards. But standard 4 is actually pretty clear that it applies to each discharge, and discharges under the current stormwater standards are point source discharges specifically. And we run into this with DEP sometimes, particularly in small towns. We'll have a project and we'll create a BMP, and DEP will make a comment that we haven't quite 100% met the stormwater standards, and they literally tell us if you didn't have the BMP, you would comply because it's not a point source, and as ridiculous as that may be. And I don't know if Kristen, you've run into that on your project.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I kind of wish there was a notice of field change, because then it would have had DEP weigh in. And because this was done after DEP weigh in, we have no DEP comments on this, and so we're just kind of flying blind here as a commission. I don't want to hog the mic though. Does anyone else have anything else they want to ask Chris or any requests for
get-
additional info?
Yeah. I guess for me, I mean, it sounds like what's required is that it catches a half inch of rain and it's doing 0.59 or something like that. So,
That's right.
I mean, to me, that seems pretty straightforward that, yeah, it was a long, complicated path on how it got to where it is, but it sounds like it is, capturing the amount that it's supposed to. So it seems like it's fine to
And I would
me.
I would also highlight in comparison to what used to be there, I think we can all agree it's much, much, much improved.
That is the requirement though for redevelopment, so.
Yep.
I think last time we talked about plantings, we had, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, like seed mixes that were used, and I think we had specified using native seed mixes, but maybe that didn't end up happening. And
So we had called for a conservation mix. Um, and we discovered when the seed came up that they'd done more of a no-mow lawn type mix around the edges. We were always, and we talked about this in the hearing, there was always the intention that this was going to be mowed at least once or twice a year to keep the invasives out. In fact, going out there to review this shortly after the grass had grown in and the knotweed was already coming up. Um, so this is another spot of we spec something on the plan, contractor delivered a different type of seed. So we are different than what's on the approved plan. And I think what we're proposing is that this is an area that is to be minimally mowed, but mowed at least once or twice a year, and that over time the makeup is going to be shifted. But the most important thing is that the knotweed is just eager to move into this site as quickly as possible. So it's really just going to be a battle of keeping that knocked down the entire time. And so I mean, there's less of an engineering answer here. We're just being quite upfront about what happened and what's there.
I personally appreciate your candor on that, and that's a challenging issue. Do you have any further thoughts on that, Travis?
um, not really. I mean, I just wanted to bring it up in case anyone else remembered anything or had any other questions. I mean, it seems like it would cause more disturbance to try to fix it, like are we gonna have them go rip out all the grass and replant it, create all this uncovered
Yeah, and
ground for
I'd say,
rain events.
we
Yeah.
don't really want to go and rip it out given where it is, although obviously if we have to, we have to. And we could overseed it with the conservation mix. But again, we're going to have to be aggressive with the knotweed. So there's a little bit of the those two are somewhat in conflict with each other, letting the native seed grow a little bit more like it wants to versus making sure that this place just doesn't get overrun because the edges are pretty bad beyond our limit of disturbance.
We could consider the applicant submit and create a special condition in perpetuity for an invasive species management plan if that's something the commission is committed to seeing managed, if not eradicated in perpetuity, especially considering the contractor made a few boo-boos, not, just one, but a couple. Certainly don't want to crucify Berkshire Design. You guys didn't have anything to do with that. But we could pass that buck along if that's something the commission would like to see.
Kristen, I'll just point out that in the order of conditions already, there's an in perpetuity condition, non-native invasive plant species monitoring and management. Continued monitoring and management of non-native and or invasive plant species on site shall be conducted to prevent the spread of non-native and or invasive plant species within the project area, including but not limited to the stormwater basin. This condition shall survive the expiration of this order and shall be included as a continuing condition in perpetuity on the certificate of compliance. So that doesn't have any reporting
Yeah, I was
requirements.
going to say, what about reporting? Can we amend that?
Yeah. I mean, um, yeah,
Because without
I guess it's
reporting,
one of those things that like, even if they're not reporting it, they're supposed to be doing it. And
but
like,
there won't be
technically
any
we could,
enforcement without reporting. If they're reporting it, they feel like there
yeah.
might be some follow-up. If there's a reporting and there's negative
Mm.
results, then the agent or chairperson will get back to them and say, you've got to do something, you're out of compliance. Without any reporting, it will just totally fall off the radar.
Yeah.
And we can add amendments to conditions in the COC.
So should we add reporting? For what term, if so?
Annual?
Forever?
Oh,
3 or 4 years?
Can I get clarification on what you're suggesting? Are you suggesting that they remove all the invasives on the property? And then like every year, like, or every growing season, just constantly be removing all the invasives? Is that what
I
you're
mean,
saying?
I'll jump in and say it's going to be impossible to remove it all. Um,
Well, what's required? What did
Yeah.
you just read?
I think
Travis?
I can read it again, but I think
Just the beginning.
what that condition was saying was in the area that was disturbed and they were doing work and moving dirt around,
So the limited disturbance,
they
like
have,
that area.
it says continued monitoring and management of non-native and or invasive plant species on site shall be conducted to prevent the spread, blah, 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 within the project area.
So it's continued monitoring and management.
Yeah. So it's not saying the entire
Right.
property.
So a lot of the project area is enclosed in a chain link fence,
Mhm.
which is part of where they did the NOMO, which is because the Japanese knotweed wants to go under the chain link fence, and that there we have some photos of it like sprouting up. So that's kind of one of the things that Chris was addressing, is just having to like constantly mow that area. The only part that I feel like it would be less obvious with the encroachment is down like in that rain garden lawn area, because there's not a fence surrounding that part of the property. I don't know if I remember knotweed there as much as behind all those buildings, like in that back portion.
we can also kick this to the applicant to present a management plan. You know, we don't have to make one right now, you know? And then that can be approved either administratively or by the commission.
That's
Because
in-
we haven't seen one, right?
Have we? We haven't.
Yeah, well, I don't think one was even requested. I think that condition is just like the boilerplate, like just stay on top of it kind of condition.
yeah, and so then I guess I think the owner of the property is certainly going to have no concerns with being required to keep the invasive species from creeping into the developed portion of the site. Again, it's knotweed's really what we're targeting, and that seems to be eagerly popping up as soon as we walk away from it. It would be a question of what will be an acceptable method to do that if continuing to mow it twice a year to keep that knotweed from maturing and then spreading further into the site That's something that they're going to be doing anyway. If there's something else specific that the commission would prefer that they're looking for in that plan, then that would we can address that, and we can document that however we want to. But I think that depending on the exact specifics of what we're talking about, I think that's hand in hand with how the property wants to be managed. Frankly, if that stuff moves in too far, it's going to potentially start trying to drill into foundations and things like that. I mean, there's a strong interest to make sure that that gets managed.
Kristen, I have a question. You were saying that we could add new conditions to the certificate of compliance, but I'm looking at the form right now, and the only option is to check ongoing conditions, and it says the following conditions of the order shall continue, include any conditions contained in the final order, such as maintenance or monitoring that should continue for a longer period. And then you list the condition numbers. There's no space on the form to include any conditions other than what is in the existing order of conditions.
That might be an administrative matter for Jessica to look into further, but I've seen it before, I thought.
Mm.
But, you know, like if there's something that's already in there, such as, you know, invasive species management in perpetuity, you could say, well, we want to see a copy of your DEP herbicide license reports, because that wasn't specified.
Mm.
That kind of stuff. I think if it's completely outside of left field, that might be a different thing, but maybe, you know, we can look into that some more.
Well, if they were gonna do it, if they were gonna use herbicide, anything other than manual, they would have to come for permission, wouldn't they? Or they
I
would
think
then,
they would have to come for permission even with manual.
well, I'm just thinking mowing, they can just.
Oh,
like, mow-
manual removal. I
Yeah,
thought you
ma-
meant manual
No,
herbicide.
no,
Oh,
manual
yeah, yeah, yeah.
removal.
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah. Even manual removal outside of like the site would have to come.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because I think the entire site's local riverfront.
Right.
So I think
So-
most
That's
of it.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it
So-
might even be perennial. I don't know.
This was, at least at the time of the application, this was determined to be intermittent.
Yeah, the drainage area is too small. I remember looking into it. I actually remember the meeting, Kristen and I both pulling out stream stats to look
Yeah,
at.
'cause when I took a
Yeah, it
picture,
sure doesn't look intermittent, but
not look intermittent.
No.
When I was there
Yeah.
the other week, it was very established.
Mhm. I guess I personally feel like, I don't know. I feel like it seems a bit much to add the reporting requirement in the certificate of compliance. And I guess I'm thinking like in the future, maybe when we're coming up with the orders, in the first place, that could be part of the order of conditions that just gets continued. But, I don't know. That's how I feel about it personally, I guess.
I feel like they've let us know what the monitoring plan is, or not monitoring, but management plan is, which is the mowing it twice a year. And it doesn't sound like there's any plans to use herbicides on it, but I feel satisfied with it. And since it's in perpetuity, we couldn't require them to report in perpetuity. So it would just be for a couple of years. So that probably would have been good if we'd had some kind of follow-up or if there was a requirement for a plan if we were concerned. But in the absence of those things, I feel like what they've said seems adequate to me.
I mean, technically, we could drive
I-
by the site at some point in the future and see Japanese knotweed all over it and say, well, you have an ongoing condition to manage that and you haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that puts that puts it on us to have to see it.
Yeah.
But
That's the problem. I feel like that was an oversight on the commission's side, and lesson learned. I think going forward, there
Mm.
has to be some kind of a reporting requirement
But
for
for
that,
how
but
long- I mean, I know I've
forever.
asked several times, but for every year,
Every time there's any kind of management in a resource area that's in our jurisdiction, there should be a annual report requirement. Absolutely.
but so they've done the management, they did the disturbance, they've done the redevelopment. And so now it's required forever. So we want, is there any other project where they come back and report to us annually forever?
I do it all the time for my job. If there
Ah.
is management required, there isn't always management required, but if there is, absolutely. If it's in resource area and it's a condition, it's a requirement.
Does our commission have people doing that
I
regularly?
think that's what she's saying, is that
We don't do that presently. Okay, I see. I
We
understand
haven't,
now.
but maybe we
That
should.
is
It
not
should
something
be.
that our commission has been doing, and we should consider doing that in the
But
future.
I will also say, knotweed is a particularly virulent species and is really difficult. I mean, we have Nancy on, and maybe she can talk after we're done with this hearing, but I just, is mowing even gonna take care of that? Doesn't, when you cut it, doesn't it double? I don't, I mean,
So I think I only know enough to be dangerous, but my understanding is
too.
if you're hitting it while it's still young, then you've got a chance. When you mow the big stuff, you've done almost nothing.
Yeah.
I've
My
heard the
question-
opposite,
Oh,
which
Is
is
that
that if
right?
you mow it after, if you cut it or mow it after it's grown, then you've exhausted the roots. And what's more destabilizing is pulling it, because then the roots break up and then it multiplies. So I
That's the
don't,
bad thing. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And my question was, when they mow, what are they just mowing and leaving it, or are they mowing and taking it? Because that's also.
That's a good point.
well, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if it doesn't have the seeds, does it? Or is every part of it going to be
Well, if the
rerouted?
root can multiply when you break the root,
But if you're mowing, you shouldn't be getting any roots in there.
Yeah, the mowing would just be just.
Can I add another log on the fire? I heard that if you mow it and then you mow it again and you mow it again and you do it like if you're mowing the knotweed like you're mowing your lawn, on a weekly, every other week basis, which isn't realistic for certain situations, but like in
Yeah.
this situation, it is realistic because they're just maintaining their yard basically. And they're doing that year after year. You're starving the roots. It's not like sprouting the leaves to get the nutrients and all the photosynthetic amazingness down into the roots, and so it will die off.
that
The
is what
problem with
Nancy
this,
said, that you're depriving it of carbohydrates. I remember
yeah,
Nancy gave a presentation on that, and but it depends on how, diligent you are with the mowing regime, because they were doing hand management at a site down by the Green River where it was like, I want to say weekly. I mean, they were really on top of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
just when there's like,
the complicating factor that I'll just throw out here is we've got a wall of it outside the site.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. Even if you manage it inside your fence.
Is twice a year gonna be enough?
I don't think twice a year is enough.
No.
At least, maybe
And
you need to do at least every other week, if not every week.
I mean, I think the owner would be very happy to do that. We initiated the once or twice a year because we had this area between the fence, in particular between the fence and close into the resource area, and was hesitant that we're going to mow this once a week would be received very well. But I probably hadn't taken that the further step to think about the reality of the knotweed and how aggressive you have to be with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think maybe asking them to do it more often. Twice a year. And what's the rain garden? Can you mow through the rain garden, or?
That looks mobile, right? The rain garden. Do you mow it?
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that. I think there was an O&M plan in the stormwater submissions at some point in time. So you need to go in periodically and make sure the sediment hasn't built up, and then take care of the landscaping. But in terms of the parts that are seeded, whether it's mowed or weed whacked, you absolutely can.
Does the commission have any more questions?
I'll move to issue a certificate of compliance for 105 Newton Street, DEP file number 1680350 with conditions continuing in perpetuity, numbers 72 through 78 in the special conditions.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll do roll call. Emily?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to make sure whether I should vote or not. Because this was discussed at a prior meeting I wasn't present at, but that
Oh, yeah.
application was denied. So is
Yeah.
this a new
This is new.
application? Okay, then I can vote because I've been present for this. Aye.
Okay. Erica?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Congratulations. Please let your applicant know that we're going to be looking at your invasive species.
Great. Well, I'll pair that with and you don't have to be paranoid about mowing it too much. So.
Yes, yes, just a little-
Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks for all your
right.
candor. We appreciate your honesty. I know that
Sure.
it's hard to admit mistakes and stuff, and especially when it's not really on you. So we appreciate that.
Oh, and appreciate also being able to dig into the question of is it reasonably good enough as well.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thanks.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
Okay, so moving down to the second item on our new business, we have a request for a partial certificate of compliance for 208 Mohawk Trail, sorry, and this is DEP file number 168-0354, which expires on March 1st, 2028. And this is for the Aldi supermarket and parking lot construction. And I will turn that over to you, Jessica.
Okay, yeah. This project, yes, was for the Aldi building. I don't know if I should bring something up on my screen right now or just kind of give an overview, but basically this was a redevelopment project, and there was the resource areas present riverfront area for two different streams. One is Smead Brook and the other is Wheeler Brook. The main riverfront area that the project intersected was with Smead Brook, which was to the kind of southeast of the property. And then also there was buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. And the partial certificate of compliance they're applying for today is for the actual kind of building project area. The part that would be left out of the certificate of compliance is for the mitigation sites, because those require 2 years of monitoring. One mitigation site is bordering the parking lot area to the south. It's the smaller site, and then the larger mitigation site is on the southern side of Smead Brook, that their parcel crosses over the brook. So those would not be included in today's, we can talk about it today, but they're not like part of the certificate of compliance request. So I'm happy to bring anything up or just hand the mic over. Andy Platt is from Bowler is on the call tonight, as is Matt Oates, and they're available to discuss this project more.
Thank you, Jessica. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully the plan is visible now. I probably should open this when you were speaking, Jessica. Probably would have helped a little bit, but the plan is just as you said. We've got some buffer areas. The light blue lines are riverfront areas, and then we've got the two streams, one across Route 2 and one down in the southeast corner towards Robbins Road. So as Jessica mentioned, we're only seeking a partial compliance for the basic building site area. So we submitted photos, we submitted a letter of conformance. Everything was built per plan. The construction wrapped up kind of late summer. As you may recall, it was pretty dry, but the site was vegetated, and I assume it's filled in quite a bit more since then with the rainfall we've had. There was one item behind the building. We actually applied for this certificate of compliance back in August. And we haven't been before the commission until now because there was one outstanding issue that needed to be addressed, which was behind the building, where there was a bit of a bare spot, and has since filled in. I can show you a photo that actually Jessica provided if you want to look at that. But we feel that the whole site is stabilized. There's pretty much no risk of erosion or sediment happening. We're going to come back in the spring, or Aldi's going to bring their landscaper back in the spring, just to address any outstanding items. That includes the mitigation area. So as you may have heard, the mitigation area got mowed by the abutter. So we're going to have to come back and replace that. And that was the area down the southeast corner. This was kind of a continuation of the abutter's backyard, or so they thought. So they went ahead and took down some of the mitigation plantings. But as I said, we'll come back in the spring and totally replant that. And that's part of the overall final certificate of compliance that will come back in 2 years to request. So with that, I can answer any specific questions you may have about the site, or take any comments you may have.
Did we get her as-built? Or
Yeah, Andy, would you like me to bring up the as-built, or do you have it?
Got it right here. So everything was built per the plan. Contractor did a real nice job. There were no deviations. Everything was built as approved. And here's the detailed view.
Who is the surveyor?
Control Point Associates.
Okay.
So I can talk a little bit about like my observations when I went to the site, and also I can show photos whenever the commission's ready. But the main thing that I think you could see on the other as-built, it's just a little less.
The sheet above that, this one?
Yeah, just with the resource areas. So behind the main Aldi building to the west is bordering vegetated wetland, and there was a 25-foot no disturb zone that was clearly marked with stakes and flags. And at every visit, I did observe that was, what's the word, like adequately recognized or acknowledged. It wasn't disturbed at all. And there was going to be a retaining wall, and they came back for an amended order of conditions or administrative approval to, gosh, I don't know, was it amended? Either way, they came back before us and got approval for the commission to not have the wall and just have the grading. And so that area was good the whole time. And then the other part that I think the commission may want to follow up with questions or just, talk about is the stormwater system had drainage into Smead Brook. And so I have pictures of that. It was, executed as designed. But that is, another area where this project directly impacted the resource areas. And let's see. Yeah, why don't I bring up pictures unless someone has questions they want to ask first.
I guess while you're pulling up the pictures, I have a quick question about the elimination of the retaining wall. I guess I'm just curious because you were saying, Andrew, that the area kind of to the west of the building was sort of harder to stabilize, or slower to stabilize, I guess. And I'm just curious if that, in lieu of a retaining wall, if whatever you've implemented is not migrating downslope and it is fully stable, and that the ground is stable and that it's fully vegetated.
Yeah, I switched to the photo that Jessica provided of that area. So this is what we're looking at where there would have been a retaining wall. This is the slope. And this area was generally a little bit bare back here for the first couple of months after construction because the ground is wet. So nothing wasn't getting established back there. So since then we've seeded the area. There's just this little spot that's just a little bit bare here, but you can see the erosion control protection here. There's really no danger of erosion. All the contributing areas are stabilized with vegetative growth. This area should bounce back in the spring. I mean, it's still a bit late in the year to do anything about it now, but we did as much as we possibly could back there to fix that area.
It does look like there's a
So-
little bit of a gully, not a gully, a little bit of a rill in the middle. This is from the 21st
Yeah,
of this
well-
month.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're looking at some ice here, but I think it's basically, maybe there's a slight drop to it, but it's basically pretty slow moving water if it's moving.
Yeah, but it looks like it's kind of channelizing is what I'm kind of getting at, that it's forming a little bit of a channel. Did you add more seed
Yeah, we did.
after the photo?
After the photo, no, because the photo was taken on Friday, this past Friday.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think, the seed's not going to really take this time of year. I mean, this is something we can address in the spring when the landscaper comes back and throw some crushed stone onto it or whatever, Personally, I don't think it's like a huge hazard, I guess, in terms of erosion control or erosion happening, but
And Jessica, did you say that something different was done here?
Well, in the distance on this photo, where it's kind of brown, that was going to be the area of a wall, but they figured out that they didn't need it. And so they came back before the commission to ask for permission just to have the grading, because once they were on site doing everything, they realized they didn't need to have the wall, I guess. So that, yeah, just gently slopes down and yeah,
It would have been a wall with a drop
Yeah.
instead of a slope.
Yeah.
Okay.
so as far as water movement, it seems like it's better
Yeah,
not to have the wall.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I could bring up the other photos if you guys would like. Let me just, let's see. Oops. Just give me one moment. There we go. So I have photos I took the other day, and then I have photos that I took when they originally applied for the COC. So, okay. So this is from the other day, and I just quickly snapped pictures of the landscaping. This is the stormwater retention area, and it drains into this that riprap area that you see has a hole that goes under the parking lot and out towards the Smead Brook. And you can't tell,
actually-
but oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that basin we're looking at actually goes to an underground infiltration basin before it goes to the brook. So there's further attenuation before it gets to the brook.
It's hard to tell, but when I was there in August taking the photos, all the plants were doing really well. This is just winter. I guess we're not in winter yet. This is late fall.
Hey,
One
Jessica,
thing,
just before you advance, for clarification, so all of this downed erosion control material after, assuming this partial COC request is approved, this would be removed. But
yes, that's what I was going to recommend, that, the COC, like even if the partial COC was approved tonight, that it not be given until the erosion controls are removed.
okay, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Just because, yeah, they're no longer necessary, except for maybe the one behind the building. That one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's another erosion control that could go. This is the sloping hill. I think that, yeah, see, that's the 25-foot no disturb zone. And it kind of hooks to the right back towards that tree. And so, yeah, there's pooling.
It looks like
It's a
a,
lot.
that's not it. Wait, can you go back to that one? That's not like a roof drip line. Why is
No,
that
it,
channelizing?
to me, it looks like the water is going down the slope and then it slopes towards the drain. And it just, I don't know if like the soil type is more clayey or something, but I feel like it just pools and then goes that way. I think that's why the grass wasn't really growing as well
And-
in this area.
At the coil, it's a drain there? Is that what
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah.
I can see a space underneath the straw wattle where the fines are going right underneath it, it looks like in that photo.
Dirt's eroding. Or is that just dirt?
And there's also maybe some netting in the foreground.
Yeah, there is netting. Well, that right there. I saw that too.
Yeah, right where your cursor is. Yep,
It's like it looks like trash.
yep.
So on this is the southern part of the building that was seeded with grass. Everything's grown in really well. When I'm walking on it with my shoes, it's pretty grown in. This is the smaller mitigation site, so they have it marked off, so there's no mowing. And so this will be one of the things that's monitored for 2 years. Go. And then this is where the stormwater system comes out. So yeah, all that silt fencing will have to be removed. This is the mode mitigation site. Sadly, the pictures from August are much better. You can't really tell what's going on here. Honestly, it looks like, I mean, the ones in August, which I'll bring up, like it's kind of more clear here, like they mowed right down this green strip, but not this brown.
I have
Here
a
you can-
question about that. So if they're required to, implement a mitigation plan and monitor it and report on success criteria per the regulations for 2 years and it got mown, does that mean we start the 2-year monitoring clock after corrective action is implemented next spring? Does that extend the monitoring season?
I personally think it should.
Yeah.
I think so too. That's my opinion, but I was just curious what everyone thought. Like if, because corrective action would be, say success criteria weren't being met for some reason, and then there was like some kind of success criteria implemented, then that would, I guess, at least a year after that. But yeah, it stinks that the neighbor was doing that and not it was out of the applicant's hands.
I know.
Really stinks.
So this was the day I discovered it is like freshly mowed.
Oy.
So like there's a clear line of where the yard ends. Like it's like
What were the mitigation measures? What was planted?
a lot. There's a lot. We would have to bring up,
So it was a meadow and they were
it was
bringing
like a
back
few,
to-
a couple hundred plants, right?
They mowed
Yeah.
shrubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, like saplings and
Oh my gosh.
What?
these obviously are clear, you can mow around them, but there's like what is it? The sumac and stuff that would here. I'll let me go through these.
I
The
wonder
other
if we
question
can
I
set
have
up
about
some
this
kind of,
is the boundary marked now so that there's some indication that it's
I was
not
gonna-
the neighbors? Because otherwise,
yeah.
there's no guarantee. I mean, they could go over a fence or a marking or whatever, but at least if it's clear there, then maybe they'd be less likely to mow over again.
So this is Matt with Benderson. We own the property. We have sent notice to the neighbor to
Okay.
inform them of the property line and what they did as well. We weren't looking to necessarily install a fence or anything that would like limit their backyard so they could still like see the creek and not have it blocked, but we are trying to more actively make sure that nothing else happens, especially once we go back in the spring and do all the new plantings out there.
Matt, would you be amenable to like wetland mitigation postings? Not every 5 feet, but maybe 2 or 3 signs
Yeah,
across the boundary?
we could definitely install a
Yeah,
couple of things that marks the area. I don't think that's an issue at all.
That'd be great.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause look, you can see some of them are like towering. See,
Yeah.
those are doing well. Because I was trying to go back through the history of this file because I wasn't here when this first started. And Matt, maybe you could more, but wasn't this cleared like initially after wasn't the reason that this was proposed was because that area got cleared? I was wondering if that neighbor cleared the area.
I want to say that the neighbor has previously mowed it and cleared it, so it wasn't really like a good buffer. It was just basically a mowed lawn at that point. So it was a good area for mitigation, which is why it was chosen. So
Right.
yes.
Okay, well, I think that might be enough of the mitigation site, but I do want to go back to let's see.
And also I don't believe there's been an issue since we sent notice and informed them of that. I don't believe that they continued mowing.
That's good. Yeah, I was there the other day, and I mean, it's winter now, so it's kind of everything's not really growing.
It's late fall.
So I'll just cruise through these photos because I think they show better, like the plants are, are healthy. So, okay, so here's where the stormwater system outfall area is. Sorry if I'm using the wrong words. Oh, that's like one of the drains. And that's the smaller mitigation site. This is behind the building. All the plantings. And so this area, this is where the other riverfront area is because Wheeler Brook's across the street by the Big Y. The Big Y is on the other side of Wheeler Brook. Yeah, so this is the pooling area.
Yeah, you can see all the fines in there at the bottom of that kind of channel. So that means there is some soil migration. And that looks sedimented.
Yeah, so that was when we talked and got the what's it called? The straw wattle. And that's the 25-foot no disturb zone. Yeah, and I didn't see any plantings that weren't alive, so that's good. And this was kind of the end of August, basically. Okay. I think that's basically it for the photos.
So it seemed like for the area that you guys are asking for the limited
Partial certificate.
partial certificate, the main questions might be just that you want to make sure that the non-functional measures are taken down. And then we're just concerned about that spot behind the building where there's still some possibility of.
I think we also need to see a plan of corrective action for the mitigation. have we seen any kind of CPA for that?
I thought that wasn't included in partial.
No,
then-
that would be separate. That would be part of their, just because their mitigation plan was fouled up, they would need to have some kind of plan before the commission. So that's a separate issue. You're right, but still, like, since we have the applicant here, maybe good to mention that.
Yeah, no, we plan on restoring the mitigation areas per plan, per approved plan. So there really is no need for a corrective plan other than telling you that we're gonna plant it in the spring, restore it to what it should be
Okay.
per their approved plan. And as noted, I mean, that'll be something that'll be covered under the full certificate of compliance after the 2 monitoring seasons.
Does anybody have
2
any
years, 2 years, right?
2 years. Yep.
Do we have any suggestions about any further treatments or measures that can be taken for the drainage area or the runoff area?
I mean, where it's.
Going into the drain?
Where it's making a channel.
Because it does look like it is channelizing a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the spring, it'll just get worse. Or maybe that we're not, it's not on us to make this suggestion, but it sounds like we're all concerned that that might be the case, so.
Well, the simplest solution is probably just to throw some crushed stone in there. That will stabilize it.
Hard armor is not the most ideal habitat, though. We certainly don't want to see soil migration, but I mean, I shouldn't say we. Me personally, I don't love hard armor. It's a very engineering answer, but there might be. Was it so in the as-built plan? Was that graded to specs?
Yes, it is. Yep. So it's
So
kind of
it's-
flat behind the building and then a 3-to-1 slope above it.
So it was supposed to be a channel. It was supposed to be a swale there.
No, it's just where the building, well, the slope slopes away from the building, then it slopes back up to the wetland above. So you end up with, I guess a slight channel shape, but it wasn't intended to be a channel. Because you got to slope away from the building, so you're heading down from the building, but then at the same time, you got to go back up the slope. So you're going to have, a low point at some point.
And that drain at the down gradient end of that swale, that is going to where?
That goes to the detention basin. So I'll share the as-built again so we can.
Okay,
Take a
thanks,
look at that.
sorry. So I'm just thinking if that goes to your detention basin and then you're getting all those fines funneled into your detention basin, will you have to vac truck out all those fines at some point? I mean, that's just, long-term maintenance for your
Yeah, so
building you don't want.
We have 2 catch basins, one to the south and one to the north. And they both drain to this settling basin. So that's where your fines would settle out in this open basin that we saw the picture of right behind the McDonald's. And then this pipe goes to an underground infiltration basin. So there's a couple of layers of treatment here in addition to the deep sump catch basins. So you got your
Do you ever-
pre-treatment. Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you got your pre-treatment and your catch basin sumps. Then it flows to this sediment forebay, which is intended to catch sediment. And then after that, it goes into your underground infiltration basin. So the water should be pretty clean by the time it makes
Yeah.
it to the infiltration basin.
Well, it sounds like it'd be really good for that to be resolved because it is still a source of deposition and erosion right now. So the measure that you suggested, which was riprap, I think we'd love to see if you could research some alternatives or a different process that would, end up with natural materials or plants rather than hard surface. I don't have a suggestion, but I think that would be our request, or that's sounding like what we would prefer. I would agree with Kristen's.
I also wouldn't mind seeing that erosion control buttoned up a little bit tighter, because it did look like it wasn't functioning correctly in the photo.
The ones that Jessica said should be removed, is that right?
No, the straw wattle that was wrapped around the
Oh, okay. So
the
measurements
drain,
there
yeah, it just looked like it was going right underneath, but it's only gonna do you a favor in the long run if that's not, being discharged to the city, and that's being discharged to your stormwater management system. It's just gonna spread fines around your management system. That's gonna be a problem for you later on down the road. So it's in your benefit to just button that erosion control up more.
I can go out and like look too, because it might just appear like it, like I totally see that dark looking gap that you see, but it's coiled twice, and if you look at it from above, it's coiled twice, so I don't know. I can go out and inspect it and see if it's
Yeah.
doing its job, or if it just appears like there's a gap, but really because of the double layer that it is doing what it should. I don't know.
That'd be good. Yeah, I know that
So,
wattles
yeah.
are really light, so they're hard to get very flush. Like
Yeah.
Filtrex sock is good because it's so heavy, but wattles are just super light, so it's hard to get them a good contact surface, especially if the topography is slightly uneven. And then the trash, the netting, I know it's not sneak season, but it is an entrapment for sneaks, so love to see that trash get removed.
Yeah, we can pick that up. So I think the other option would be just to throw some sod down here, but obviously we can't do that until spring. I mean, I don't know if there's an option. We're kind of hoping to close out the partial certificate tonight if we can, because we can't come back and do anything vegetative until spring. We don't really want this hanging out there for a few more months if we don't have to. So I don't know this is a very small area we're looking at. We've got the erosion controls in place. I don't know if the commission would consider closing this, just the partial part of it, even with this, looking at this small area. I just don't, personally, I don't think it contributes erosion. It's going to be filtered several times, as I mentioned. And Aldi is definitely going to come back in the spring. We can clean it up then, do whatever we need to do. I kind of
Andrew,
think,
have you filed your NOT?
nope.
What's the NOT?
The notice of termination for a SWIP?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can until we have the certificate. I'm actually,
No, it's self-verification. It's if you breached the site stabilization criteria, then you can file it. So I'm just curious if you reached your site stabilization criteria under your SWIP.
okay. Well, in terms of 70% vegetative growth, other than this one spot we're looking at, then yes.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. You're at 70%.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
That's what I was getting at. That's perfect.
Can this area be part of the area that's not completed right now? Is there a reason why this has to be included?
I don't.
Does the partial certificate of completion need to include this area? Because
I think you guys can do whatever.
it doesn't seem like it's complete. So
Like if you wanted to be like partial completion for, all the areas except for the part behind the building and the mitigation.
yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, they have 70% vegetative cover. I honestly think you can just throw some seed out there and you'll be fine personally. And I think that seed will grow fine in 30 to 50 degree weather personally. But that's my opinion. What about the rest of the commissioners? What do you guys think?
I agree with you. I think it should not be included in, if we're gonna do the rest of it, we can go ahead and do the rest of it. This is, this as part of, with the mitigation areas. Is there any problem with, invasives on this property?
Yeah. But around the brook.
Okay.
you know, not.
Is it not weed?
Well, I just didn't know if they had, if they needed to have anything in place as far as monitoring, controlling
Oh.
the invasives.
Yeah, I wasn't, we could look at the photos, but I wasn't looking at it through that lens when I was looking at the photos. Let's see. Um, Yeah, actually, I don't really recall.
Issue number 78 covers that.
I don't
Oh.
recall knotweed being like a huge thing here. I
was gonna
think
say,
it's
yes.
really like bittersweet and
Okay.
those kind of other ones that aren't completely taking
Well,
over.
that's shocking.
And it is
'Cause the
shocking.
other side is.
'Cause look,
is
there's
swamped.
no knotweed right there. I wonder.
Oh, the orders were recorded, right?
Oh, yes, yeah, before
Okay.
construction.
Yeah. I don't think knotweed is an issue on this site.
Lucky you guys.
So,
Hopefully it doesn't blow across the street from the other side.
I know it's so close. Just over Route 2.
so we're fine with throwing some more seed down and just kind of hoping something happens in the next month or so. And then if you can omit this from the partial certificate, we'll take care of it in the spring. And then therefore we can get rid of the erosion controls on the rest of the site, which they don't look too good right now. So we'd be fine with that if the commission wanted to go that route.
Since you're doing it in parts, why not?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
That's what I prefer.
I'm just wondering how we're gonna word that to be clear on the certificate of compliance. I wonder if we could look at maybe the plan and say the area omitted would be within 50 feet of the north side of the building, or whatever the measurement would be, just to be clear what we're omitting,
So we
instead of just saying
describe
that
it.
area.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or if there's a wetland flag or
It would be, so the clear areas are the larger and smaller mitigation site plus the drainage behind the northwest side of the building, like soil stabilization of the drainage area behind the northwest side of the building. Does that make sense, Travis? Or like, is that specific enough?
I don't know. I'm just, thinking like 10 years from now, if someone comes back and looks at it. I mean, eventually, in a year or two or whatever, they'll have the full certificate of compliance, I assume. So it won't matter at that point. But yeah, I was just trying to see if I could. I'm looking at the scale here in feet. There.
Yeah, because the actual drainage basin is right at that northwest corner of the building. Like you just park right at that corner and it's over the curb. And the soil that hasn't been vegetative just probably extends, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet south. But everything else around it, like the hillsides, are fine. It's just that little swath.
Mhm. I can't see on. I'm trying to zoom in and see a label that. Oh,
The drain must be in there, right? Mark?
yeah. I was gonna see if it had a label.
Yeah,
Isn't
because
there-
oh, a drain identification.
Yeah, it's just so we could specify.
I was gonna say,
On
wasn't
our
there-
plans, it's called AD-3, so area drain -3.
someone drains my net
Yes.
on the, what is it, the northwest side of the building or the west
Yeah,
side of the building?
it is the,
I mean, I
it is the
know
west side of the building.
the upper part is
Yeah,
west
okay,
side.
but if we just
So-
said the whole thing, just
Yeah,
make sure.
northwest to south.
Did you guys hear what Andrew said? It does have an ID.
Yep, AD-3, I believe.
Yeah.
Great. People in 20 years will thank us. Will thank you, Travis.
Ah, there's a label.
So, yeah. I guess what I'm just thinking is excluding the area of drain AD-3 extending 20 feet southwest along the building or something like that.
That
Sounds
sounds good.
Should we take a motion?
Yeah. I could try to do that. Hold on, what was the address of this one again?
208.
208 Mohawk Trail.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. All right. I will move to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 208 Mohawk Trail, DEP file number 1680354, excluding the small and large mitigation areas and the area of drain AD-3 extending 20 feet southwest along the building. All other areas are included in the partial certificate of compliance, just to be clear.
Should we have you go out and check like 20 feet? I mean, just if it's.
Yeah,
That'll be fine.
and just to add, should you add like due to like lack of vegetative cover or something so that we know
There's a
that's
reason
why
for it.
they got.
I'll say due to
Oh.
lack of soil stabilization on the that drain area. Also, but I'll continue my motion here. Also including I just had it pulled up. Hold on one second. Still continuing my motion here. Order of conditions. And the conditions 72 through 78 shall continue in perpetuity.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any more comment and discussion? All right, we'll do
Got it
a
all covered in the motion.
I know, that was a very thorough motion. Good job. Who seconded that? Was that you, Emily, or Erica?
Erica.
Okay, so I'll start with you, Emily,
Aye.
and then Erica
Aye.
and Travis.
Aye.
I am also an I. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks, Matt. Happy Thanksgiving,
Same to
guys.
you.
Thank you so much.
You too. Goodbye.
All right, so let's move down. We're done with new business. So we're moving down to our second order of old business, which is Griswold Conservation Area. We have an update from Emily about her site visit to Griswold with Link Fish.
All right, myself, Lincoln Fish, Tobias Carter, another forester from Bay State Forestry, and Patty O'Neill, who's a member of the Open Space Task Force, a volunteer, a member of the public, non-voting member. We spent 4 hours out there.
Nice.
We had a really good
nice.
discussion. We walked around. The foresters were very generous with their time. And so Patty took a lot of detailed notes and I took a lot of pictures. So I'd like to not talk in depth tonight, but to have another time when we can give a little presentation and maybe even have the foresters, attend remotely. Just briefly, there's a lot of history. The land's been owned by the town or the city since 1983. There's been a lot of nice, very thoughtful management that's been done in the past. And we had some good discussions about potential ways to have educational events at the forest in advance of renewing the forest management plan, which expires in 2026.
Oh.
And we have, there's some sources of funding that we can look into, but both, in our interests of learning more about the forests and, getting more public input, And also that's one of the priorities that from the open space plan that the task force has been addressing. And I volunteered to help with that. So it just seems like a very nice confluence of things that this is a property that there's been a lot of investment and time into, and it could be a really great way to bring people into thinking about how we look at the land. One thing we talked about was that we had a conversation about how in pollinator plans, of which there is one for Greenfield, you often don't think about forests, but there's research that shows that it's very important for pollinators, the forests. So there's a lot of different ways that we could sort of look at this property and learn, and then also make plans for the next 10 years in ways that have incorporated people's interest and maybe even have them do things in the forest. So I will get in touch with Jessica when we're ready, and then we'll do a little slideshow and have a discussion.
I have a quick question about the forest management plan. Who created that?
Lincoln Fish did
Okay.
with the
And
Conservation
And is
Commission.
that like every 10-year?
That's right.
Okay,
So there was one in 2016 and there was one in 2006.
okay.
There's funding available from DCR Service Forestry through the cost share program that we could be eligible for to do another plan.
Okay.
But I really recommend having the community be involved in that. It's a way for people to be invested and learn about it. And then also whatever the choices that are made in the management plan will reflect what people have expressed they want to see done. That way, there has been some conflict in some communities about active management, and people don't feel adequately involved. And there's really no reason for that. Really, it's community holding. We want to do things that are going to be good for the community.
Great.
So, and that also means it's not a long discussion, so
Yeah.
we can go home.
Okay, well, I guess, great. So that's completed. Sorry, Kristen, I was about to get ahead of you.
Yeah, feel free. What am I missing? Am I missing something?
No,
Yeah.
no, well, it would just be like moving on to project monitoring.
Oh, yeah, let's jump in. So no enforcement updates, I take it?
No.
Okay, so what do you have for project monitoring correspondences and site visit scheduling?
I have a question for you guys, because I told you that the Jehovah's Witness property 290 Shelburne Road did the bank restoration project, and they
The green armor was put on the
the
bank.
green armor was put on the bank. They hydroseeded and it germinated, all that. But there's still the silt fencing protective layer, and he's just wondering like when he can remove that. And usually it's when things have been stabilized, but I didn't know with like bank restoration if that's like a post-winter thing, like you leave it.
Where's the fence?
It's on Wheeler Brook. Well, it's
Where
on
on
the
the-
inside, like it's like in the creek basically, because that was like
right. To keep it. yeah, that's right.
yeah, from everything going downstream if
Downstream.
there was like a large rain event or something. But it's like not in the growing season, and I just didn't know what the protocol there was, and I wanted to ask you guys.
Have we
about
done a
that.
certificate of compliance for them?
No, no. It's
No, 'cause
still,
they haven't done the mitigation area, have they?
yeah, well, they planted it, but he might end up coming for a partial, but it's like we're heading, I don't know. This was my main question. He's not yet ready to go for the partial.
I don't know the answer. Does anybody?
Kristen?
What'd you say?
Is it Kristen?
Kristen?
I always have something to blab about.
Do you know
Such a
what's the
big-
protocol? Like, do you leave that for the winter and let it like really kind of catch hold, like the bank?
I feel like there's like two ways of thinking about it. One would be, site stability, which is obviously a priority. You certainly don't want, sediments migrating into a moving water course. but also like a migratory barrier. And if there's something in the actual physical channel, that could create problems with ice shear and rising and falling water levels. And, if it's interfering in any way with the benthic community, if it's acting more like a turbidity curtain than an erosion control barrier, and the site is stable, I say get it out of there personally, but
Okay. Yeah,
that's just
because
my
I was
opinion. I
thinking
don't know if
about
there's a
like,
protocol.
yeah, like the little critters and not being able to get past it, but I wouldn't want it to be like a premature thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he putting a turbidity curtain down by the,
Oh
down
yeah,
by the
but
thing?
that had to be removed.
gone,
That
okay.
was like only during
During the work.
Just
during
during
the
the work,
work,
okay.
and there actually was heavy rains, and I went out there and I was like, get this thing out of here, because it was like blocking
Oh,
the water,
oh.
like right, because it was right at the like
Yeah, the-
overpass thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that actually was going to cause more problems than it was helping. But thankfully that was all after the work had been done. So and those silt fences were still there. But yeah, I'm inclined a bit to say like remove them, but I just didn't. I'm not familiar with this type of project, so I didn't know if that was the right call.
Is there anything on the outside of the bank? I'm just thinking
What
if
do you
they,
mean by that?
on
The
the top,
far
on the,
side?
on the top of the bank.
No, no,
Nothing
that was
there,
all the
okay.
hydro seeded.
Okay. I'm just thinking if they, somebody's plowing and they accidentally plow, like,
No, because it's like the parking lot,
Oh.
and then it's a little grass, and then it goes down into the riprap stormwater system thing they have, and then it's grass, and then the.
oh, that's right, there's,
Yeah.
okay.
So is it vegetated? Is it stable? Is there any like loose soil?
Last time I was there, it looked all good. And they hydro seeded at like the beginning, like beginning of the second week in November. So it had some good weather. They timed it really well, and it grew in really fast. It's not like months of growth, but
Why did the hydro seed so late? I thought they did the work in the summer.
they had to wait. No,
No,
it was
they
at the
did,
end.
yeah.
It was like I forget, was it beginning of September?
Yeah, not that long ago,
okay.
you said that. they were
So
done.
I'm sorry, I'm getting that wrong. They hydro seeded end of October because they planted the plants second week of November because they had to wait for the hydro seed to.
Oh, I see.
So yeah,
That's the
I
other
got
way
that
around.
wrong. So it was October.
I guess it was just later in the year. It feels like very long ago that we
It
went out
does,
there.
doesn't it?
Because they
Well,
were
and-
talking about doing it in the summer, but
Yeah,
then they must have waited for.
Yeah,
So it
it
happened
got
in the
like
fall.
pushed to the late
Okay.
summer.
Okay.
Um,
Well, it's good that they
Because I
had good
remember,
growing
yeah, we were
season.
talking about like, first couple of weeks of June and whatever, way back then, and
Yeah.
then they must have,
yeah, so like, yeah, I guess it's just like the moment of truth, like removing that so fence, So I wanted to get your opinion on it before I.
Yeah.
It makes, I mean, that makes sense to me, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Cool.
will tell him you can go ahead and do that.
Great.
And
Was
that's it for
that-
updates.
All right. Well, so we've got Nancy Hazard here. I don't know what you're here for, Nancy, but I would love to, if there were any, normally, if there's anything not reasonably anticipated before the hearing or the meeting that we could put on the agenda, was there anybody in the public that would want to speak? And so I would just call on you, Nancy, if not to pick on you, but if you would like to.
Yeah, I thought that Miller's Meadow was on your agenda.
Oh, it was. We put you first.
Oh, and so you talked about it before I got on.
Yeah, gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, because I looked at the agenda and thought, oh, I'll just come half hour late. That'll be just fine.
Right, 'cause you
Oh no, Athena came and she talked. We put you guys first. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
you had to wait so long the last
The
time.
rest
I
of it, the rest of
We
it
were-
was the rest
were
of it was
trying to
all
be
very
nice.
interesting. So
Oh,
I enjoyed it. Thank you. I learned a lot.
we'll come back anytime. We love having you, Nancy.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, you too. All of you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Sorry, Nancy.
Well, gosh, do we have anything else not reasonably anticipated that we should discuss before somebody makes a motion to adjourn?
I don't have anything to discuss at this meeting, but I was just thinking, it would be good. I mean, it would probably be good if we scheduled this like annually, but looking at our, different funds that we have, and like getting an update on how much we have in all the different funds. Because the last time I think we actually, well, I don't know if you guys did that while I was out, but the last time I saw that we did that was in 2022.
Mm.
And because I was thinking about the Griswold,
Yeah, there's an account. that
Yeah, there's an
money
account,
Goes into. I'd let you know
and-
more
We-
about that too.
We talked
so-
about it a little bit while you were gone.
okay, yeah, because
But I could get a fresh balance because,
Mhm.
Eric's leaving, so it might be a good time to just have
Yeah.
him quickly tell me where it's at.
And
Mm.
also,
before the new person gets oriented.
I'd love to have a little description again associated with each of the accounts about how money goes in and how money comes out.
Okay.
And since Eric,
Mhm.
it's very nice to tap into his institutional knowledge
Yeah.
while it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I'll just add this to the next agenda.
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
it's like the last meeting of the year, so.
Yeah,
that'd be
I
great.
figured we might not have too much coming up. So I thought it might be a good time to bring that up.
Can we talk about attendance next?
Yeah,
Attendance?
Yeah, for members.
who's gonna be here?
Because I believe Elizabeth will be at the next one. Kristen, you said you could. Is everybody else? planning?
Yeah, and BT Dubs, I was thinking about coming in person because it's my last one. And I know, and I might join again, but I just need to deal with some personal stuff
Yeah.
for a while. But yeah, I'll see you guys in person for sure.
That would be cool.
Sounds calm holiday party.
Yeah. So that's December 9th
That
is
would
the
be
next
kinda
one.
nice. Yeah, the 9th.
Yeah, I should be here.
I'll be here.
Great, great.
We're gonna have a full house.
Yeah.
Oh, great!
I
That's
should bring, like-
wonderful. I'll bring treats.
Yeah.
I do have two other things since we're going into the winter and maybe we're not going to have as many projects to talk about that I've been meaning to get back into. One of them is following up with the mayor about the Stone Ridge Lane parcel, and
Oh,
she said
yes.
she was going to make it recreation land and not conservation land last time I talked to her.
Right.
But that hasn't happened yet. So it'd be good we can invite the mayor and like talk about that. And the other thing that also we had sent to the mayor was we looked into the whole process. Like we were given the ability to issue fines from city council,
Yes.
and we just need a fine book to be able to do that. And
Great.
I contacted all sorts of people, and basically it came down to you just make this form and then you use it. And MACC was like, well, you should probably run it by the mayor, like, just to like they're going to be the ones enforcing it, or like the city is. So like have them at least look at it and like make sure it's fine. And I think we sent that like 2 years ago or something. And at this point, I think we could just like get it printed and use it. Like they don't have any issues with it. I don't know. But I mean, I was like talking to like City of Northampton, like their conservation commission, and like all these different conservation commissions and MACC, and like, how do we do this? And
Yeah.
so it would just be good. Like it would be helpful for us to be able to issue fine. Not that I want to go around fining people, but to be able to have that, like, well, you better comply with what we say because we can fine you if you don't.
Make me break out my.
Yeah.
book.
Because there have been some issues where like that probably would have helped if
Yeah.
we had that. And like technically, I think we can do it without a fine book. We can have, I think it says that we can have the police issue a fine for us. So if we do need to fine someone, I think we can do it that way if the police officer agrees to do it.
Didn't you do some research on it too?
Yeah, at the MACC conference, I went
Mhm.
to specifically the session that was about this.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because they gave some information that was slightly different from what you had received.
Mm.
And one of the things they said was that typically, or you can have the police department print it. And I think you would look into that and they said, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
But the good thing
yeah.
is that when you issue the fines, it's per violation per day, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And so then you have to have one written out per day per violation. So, and there are multiple types that are in our bylaws that we can be enforcing for.
Mhm.
And so, no, it seems unlikely that a police officer would like take that on.
Yeah,
So it'd be
yeah.
us doing that. And then you have to bring them to the county courthouse and have them
Mm.
filed. So it's a complex but very expensive thing for somebody who's doing a violation. So it is a really like massive tool, but we probably want to have the pad in-house because then we could actually do all of these steps. And having the police do it, I don't think it would have the same impact if we
Mhm.
tried to work with them to do that.
Which is why I think it's never happened
Yeah,
before. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And I was told to reach out to the court or someone specific at the court to review it for us. And I reached out to them and they said, "Oh, we don't review these." And I was like, "Well, that's what I was told to do."
Yeah.
So, okay.
Used to run around.
So anyway, that's just,
Well, to
we
clear
don't
this
have to
up.
have this whole big discussion right now, but I just wanted to bring that up as another thing that we should probably.
Sounds like a
Like,
great winter
get back to.
Revisit
project.
it and
Yeah.
Yeah.
in our meetings.
Yeah.
Have like I'll put it on the agenda.
I mean, if we did invite the mayor, we could talk about that and the Stone Ridge Lane parcel and,
That'd be great.
Okay.
And
I
one other-
personally would love to see the Stone Lake Ridge parcel be set aside for conservation purposes.
Yeah,
yeah.
personally.
be awesome. The Open Space Task Force is still working on conservation priority mapping. Jessica attended our most recent meeting, and soon there will be some that will be shared, and so that'll be another thing we can do in the winter is look those up.
Mm. Cool.
Other than that, sounds like we're all set.
Yeah.
Can we
Anybody
get
want a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. That was Emily.
Oh, thank you. It's hard to hear you guys because I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it's just hard for me to hear. And you're so far away from the camera, so I'm like, which one was that?
Hello.
Thank you. All right, so we got a motion in a second. I'll start with you, Erica,
Aye.
and Emily,
Aye.
and Travis.
Aye.
I am also an aye. So I think that we will adjourn and see each other in person on December 9th.
Woo.
Hey.